Good afternoon, all. We are here to talk a little bit about the EUNorth and exploring Nordic business opportunities. The EUNorth consists of Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Denmark. It also includes Iceland, which we're not going to speak about today. Those four countries are the focus of our discussion, and I'm going to pass it to Kylie to talk a little bit more about Norway. Kylie?
Next slide, please. The capital of Norway is Oslo and accompanies 5.43 million people with a population growth rate of 0.58%. The main languages spoken are Norwegian and Sami, with 84% of the population living urban lifestyles and 16% living rural, in the population by giving living area of 364,285 kilometers squared, depicted on the right there. Next slide, please. Here's a nice visual representation of the culture in Norway. As you can see, Oslo, the capital, is located in the southeast corner of Norway. There is a steady population increase and projected increase for the next 20 years, as you can see on the top right. Norway's culture is strong in the arts with major social norms, including tolerance, respect, and equality. There is a big concept in Norway concerning cabin culture and the idea of coziness. Next slide, please. Norway's trade includes exports and imports that take into account a huge part of their business economy. So exports include the UK, Germany, Netherlands, Sweden, and France, with the UK and Germany being the front runners in exporting countries. Imports include China, Sweden, Germany, the US, and the UK, with China, Sweden, and also Germany being the front runners of their importing countries. Norway's importer rank is 38th. Their exporter rank is 33rd, and their trade balance rank is 9th on a global scale. Next slide, please. Norway is a major exporter of oil and gas, and as you can see depicted on the left in the blue, it accounts for a major percentage of their exports when compared to other categories. The top line graph here is a great statistical representation of their exports over the years, showing the crude oil and the natural gas, which, as you can see, has steadily increased over the years. The table below kind of shows the exports and imports here. So as I was saying, oil and minerals are a major exporting part of Norway, and they account for a big majority of their economic income as well. Imports of Norway include motor vehicles and parts, as well as industrial machinery. And on the left, you can see the GDP is 579,422 million current US dollars. GDP growth is 3.28% in 2022, and the CPI growth is 5.76%. Next slide, please. In 2022, the trade between US and Norway totaled about 17.9 billion, with exports accounting for 7.2 billion and imports accounting for 10.8 billion. The US FDI in Norwegian stock in 2022 was $13.5 billion, where Norway's FDI in US stock was $36.9 billion. US exports to Norway include aircraft, mineral fuels, vehicles, machinery, and optic medical instruments, while US imports from Norway include mineral fuels, fish and seafood, and extensive medical instruments. You can see below the exchange rate as well. Next slide, please. So concerning Norway's infrastructure, the picture on the right shows the extensive trail routes offered in the country. And as you can see, there are major railroads, roadways, and waterways. The main point of travel in Norway is the roadways, and there are 55 airports depicted in the yellow dots, as you can see all around the country there. Old waterways have transitioned into flourishing road, rail, and air transport as seen to be utilized more frequently. Next slide, please. All of these communications here are very successful in reaching rural and urban areas. And then to move on to the next country and to conclude Norway.
Thanks, Kylie. I'm going to talk a little bit about Sweden. So as we mentioned, Sweden is one of the Nordic countries. Their partners consist of Denmark, Norway, Finland, and then also Iceland, which is another Nordic country here, but we're not going to talk about that one today. As we dive in, Sweden has a high cost of living. They have very high tax rates, which are among the highest worldwide. Their VAT is approximately 25%. Their capital is Stockholm, which is actually made up of 14 islands, specifically the Gamla Stan, Old Town area, which dates back to the 1200s and the time of the Vikings. Their population is around 10.5 million in 2023, 10.4 million in 2022, so it's up a bit. Their language is Swedish, and their currency is Swedish krona. They represent about 16.5% of Sweden's GDP is represented by public procurement at all levels, and it's much higher than the overall average of the EU at 13%. The main age distribution is between 15 and 64 at about 62%. And they speak mainly Swedish with some Syrian, Iraqi, and Finnish languages throughout the country. They have an extensive infrastructure network. It was leveraged over history for immigration and trade. They have a centralized railway system, as you see on the right, which is one of the preferred and fastest methods of transportation throughout Sweden. They have a significant amount of airports within the country of Sweden. Their main international airport, though, is Stockholm International, with a number of other local airports to enable transit throughout the country. They also have bus service and water service, which consists of 9 international ports. 7 of those are main ports, and as you see in the bottom left, Gothenburg is one of the busiest ports coming out of Sweden. And these ports and this railway system was all leveraged as part of the immigration process back in the 1800s. So if we look here in 1887, Sweden had a great immigration. A lot of Swedish residents left Sweden to immigrate to the United States. A big peak was in about 50,000 in 1887, and they left through multiple routes, going through Quebec, New York directly from the West Coast. They also left through the southern section, through going through England and Liverpool, going out to New York, Philadelphia, and Boston. They had many other trade routes, but those would often stop in England. And as we look here, the main immigration process, Swedish immigrants came to every state in this country. The main percentage, or the highest percentage, is actually located in Minnesota. So they have rapid development. They're represented throughout every part of the country, and they have a very high percentage of Swedish ancestry throughout the United States. And as we jump here to trade, Sweden has a $676 billion GDP. Their imports and exports are relatively close, with exports at 324 billion and imports are 296 billion. You can see that consists of multiple areas, including agriculture, raw materials, ores and metals, fuels, manufactured goods, crude petroleum, cars, broadcasting equipment, garments are a lot of their imports, and their exports basically are led by automotive electronics, machinery, and a big group of pharmaceuticals. The United States is actually 15.3% of the exports, or sorry, 15.3 million, or 9% are their exports. They are the third highest leader or export partner for Sweden, behind Norway and Germany. The imports are led by Germany, followed by Denmark and China and Netherlands. So you can see the US is not as great of an import partner as they are an export partner, but Sweden for itself is a very culturally diverse location. They are used often for technological developments, technological testing. There are growth for smart grid, decarbonization, alternative energy, and e-health. So they're a critical, important market for the United States companies that are offering innovative technologies. They're 4th on the DESI out of 27, and their importer ranks are in the 30s, given they're a very small country in comparison. Their business and industry trade rank is much higher than their population rank. And they also have a number of Swedish companies operating in the US. There's a large number of companies across all these areas: pharmaceuticals, life sciences, transportation. Many of these are names that we probably recognize and we've done business with. Great opportunity for investment within the country of Sweden. And we also have that business economy that they have. They also believe in working hard, but also playing hard. So you'll see that they have a number of different cultural norms. So things like fika, which is two coffee breaks a day. They have a high work-life balance. They have Taco Fridays, and they also have candy and snacks on Saturdays. So spending time with family through the Taco Fridays and the Lord Dag's Scotus, which is candy and snacks on Saturdays, is very important from a cultural norm. And then lastly, they're the newest member of NATO in 2024, behind Finland.
Denmark has a population of just over 5.9 million people, that is 597,420 as of July 2024. Area 43,005 kilometers square. No place is Denmark is more than 30 miles from the sea. The official language of the Denmark is Danish. Here, the capital city of Denmark is Copenhagen, located on the eastern of Zealand, with historical places and gardens and the world-famous Tivoli amusement park in downtown Copenhagen. It is the most visited of all Nordic cities. Here is culture about the Denmark. The culture of Denmark, while rich in the arts, has some general characteristics associated with Danish society and everyday culture. Modesty, punctuality, above all, quality are important aspects of Danish way of the living. One of the fundamental aspects of Danish culture is hygge, which means relaxing with good friends or loved ones, often while enjoying some goods, food, and something to drink, and creating a more friendly environment by lighting a few candles. Here are some infrastructure. Number one, Denmark transportation system includes buses, trains, airports, and the metro. It is a highly developed telecommunication infrastructure. The Danish government, Denmark, forward strategic plans to invest 160 billion krona in road and rail upgrades by 2035, focusing on supporting the green transitions in transportation. The Danish railway network consists of 267 kilometers of railway, of which 81% is managed by RailNet Denmark. Here are some economic and business about Denmark. GDP approximately USD 400 billion in 2022. Denmark's economic freedom score is 77.8, ranking it as the seventh freest economic in the 2024 Index of Economic Freedom.
Hey guys, I'm gonna talk about Finland. Brian, can you go to the next slide? So here are some infographics where it covers the total area of Finland and the currency and the population and the language it speaks and the capital city. Brian, next slide. Yeah, Finland, it is the northernmost nation. Finland is most densely forested country in the Europe, and I've given you the major insights. Finland is heavily forested with over 70% of the country covered by thick woodlands called Land of Thousand Lakes. Brian, can you go to the next slide? Yeah, coming to the economic and financial environment of Finland. Finland ranks within the ninth in the European Union in terms of GDP per capita, which is over 40,000 euros, well above the EU average, which is 37,600 euros. It accounts for 1.6% of the EU's total GDP. Finland's GDP per capita is estimated at 59,800 USD in the year 2023 by the IMF. It is among the highest in the world and higher than the EU 27 average, allowing the country to offer a high living standard. Coming to its financial environment, Finland is a very bank-centric financial system, which means it is essential to have a strong banking sector for channeling finance into the real economy. The capital adequacy of Finnish banks has remained significantly above the European average. Ryan, can you go to the next slide? Coming to Finland's infrastructure, you can see the Finland's transportation infrastructure construction market in the year 2024 and how's it going to be in the year 2029. The Finland transportation infrastructure is estimated at 8.85 billion USD in the year 2024, and it is expected to reach up to 11.32 billion by 2029, growing at CAGR of 5.04% during the forecast period. And coming to economic contribution of tourism, growth of travel and tourism in Finland is driving the need for transportation infrastructure. Finland is rapidly growing travel destination in Northern Europe, attracting an increasing number of international visitors. The travel and tourism industry is important for the growth of the Finnish economy, contributing a share of 3% to the GDP, the country's GDP. Here is a chart which shows an yearly average of how the economic contribution of the tourism is gradually increased over the years. Brian, can you go to the next slide? Coming to the cultural environment, most of the people living in Finland were born and raised in the country, and nearly 90% of the population speaks Finnish. While other European cultures historically viewed forests as dark and threatening, the Finns see forests as places of shelter and adventure. Today, many Finns have second homes in the woods to escape the city life. Another popular Finnish tradition is taking sauna steaming in the superheated room and then jumping into icy lake. The country of some 5 million people is about 1.5 million saunas.
In conclusion, the EU North Nordic countries provide valuable market opportunities for United States investment. The workforces of these countries are highly trained, they're proficient in English, foreign languages, and technically savvy. And they have a strong business infrastructure. Here is a list of our references. Thank you.